Greetings, fellow forgers. Thanks for joining me on today's video. Today, I'm going to share with you a little bit of a Glowforge hack that allows you to engrave on something like this. So stick around. I'm going to show you how. Okay, so as most of you probably know, if you've done as much research on this machine as I was doing before I bought it, that the Glowforge, all models, come with what's called a crumb tray. And in order to access that, it's just this big black thing. Once you get your Glowforge set up, you'll be required to actually insert this thing into the Glowforge just by sliding it in. It's got some little divots on the bottom here that slide into a couple of dimples on the base and the inside of the Glowforge. So we don't actually want the crumb tray inside the Glowforge right now, because what we're trying to do is we are trying to engrave on a thicker item. And in order to do that, because the Glowforge is limited to the thickness of product or material that it will actually engrave to, I think it's, actually, I don't even really know. Sorry, but it is limited even with this little hack to how thick this particular item can be, your materials. So in this case, I'm using a 3/4 inch charcuterie platter. I've already engraved it, as you can see here. But what I want to show you is how you would sort of hack the Glowforge, as it were, in order to be able to engrave on a thicker item like a cutting board or something thicker. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and removed the crumb tray by pulling down the front door here. All models have this front door at the front. I hope you can see that. Let me just move this over a bit. So it's like this little door that flaps up and then locks into place. It snaps in like that. So we want to open that, remove the crumb tray, and then what we want to do is we want to use a tool that is readily available on the Glowforge community forums. If you're in a group on Facebook or whatever for the Glowforge, you can ask about it there. This is a little tool that you can print off, and it's free, by the way, and it shows you with a check mark here the area that is safe to engrave. So basically what we want to do is we want to measure the distance from the base. We're going to rest this little tool on the base of the inside of the Glowforge, and I hope you can see this here. We're going to measure this, as long as we're within this little area right here where the check mark and the two lines is, we're good to go. So what we want to do is, if our item is this charcuterie platter, we want to make sure that we stack something underneath it so that the top of the charcuterie platter comes within that little framework right there with the check mark between those two lines. So we want the top surface of the material that we're engraving to be within those two lines where the check mark is. And then we have to stack enough material underneath it so that it's actually that high off the base of the inside of the Glowforge. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to use some scrap material. I've actually got some scraps here that I had from previous projects, and I've just sort of stacked them up. I happen to know that for this particular board at 3/4 inch, I need exactly 5 1/4 inch pieces of scrap in order for that to rest within the two lines and the check mark there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and lay these, and the reason why I'm using this particular shape of product or scraps is because I want something long so that this thing here can rest on it without it being tippy. I do not want this thing wobbling inside the Glowforge for any reason whatsoever. It'll mess up the engraving and we'll have a bad product on our hands. So go ahead and grab yourselves however much of scrap product or whatever really that you can find to make sure that the top of this material that you're engraving falls within the two lines with the check mark, okay? So let's go ahead and put that in there like so. Let's grab the piece that we dropped. There we go. We'll just rest that on top. So now what we've got here, if I pull this over and show you, is we've got these materials here, this scrap, resting on the base of the inside of the Glowforge, okay? So now what I can do is I can go ahead and rest the charcuterie platter on top of that. Say for instance you're using a rectangular square cutting board or material, you're going to want to make sure that the edge of that material also matches the edge of this. This is a straight edge down here, okay? So use this as a guideline to have your material absolutely parallel with this straight line right here, okay? And that way your engraving is going to be straight, everything will be true. So for settings on something like a cutting board or a charcuterie platter that's elevated in the bed of the Glowforge, I like to use about a 725 speed and about a 60 power, and just leave it at the default lines per inch. Yeah, these things usually take, for the designs that I do, they usually take around 15 to 20 minutes per design. Please note that if you're doing cutting boards or charcuterie platters like this, if you decide that you are going to do one, when you get this difference in wood grain, okay, like this, even in one piece of wood, you can see there's like several pieces of wood that are glued together here, right? See how this part here is darker than this blonde bit right here, and this blonde here is much different than this piece here. As you engrave, certain grains of wood are going to be harder, and they're going to have a different result when it comes to the engrave. They're going to be lighter or blonde in nature versus like a darker, you know, a darker kind of engrave on the woods that are softer or more porous. So just be aware of that. If you've got a charcuterie or a cutting board like this, just make sure that you're aware that engraving on anything that is harder, because of these, you know, varying types of grain of wood that are in this thing all glued together, it will get lighter on these lighter pieces of wood within the same materials. So just be aware of that. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned a little bit about that kind of hack that you can use with the Glowforge to engrave items that are thicker than what you can normally do with the crumb tray in. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video, and like the video. Oh, by the way, if you're looking to purchase a Glowforge of your own, they've got an amazing referral program where you can save up to $500 off of your own Glowforge. If you get a Pro, it's $250 off if you buy a Plus, or $125 off if you get a Basic, and I get credit for it too, which is awesome. I really appreciate the support. So go ahead, there's a link down below for that referral code if you want to use it, and I thank you in advance for doing so. Thanks again for joining me on today's video. Again, hope it was helpful. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.